been a delivery driver for 6 years, and nothing that happened before prepared me for what I saw on Route 9 that night. I work for a regional courier company, mostly late shifts, mostly rural routes that the younger drivers don't want. I like the quiet. I like not having to deal with people. At least I used to. It was late November, already dark by 5:30, and the fog had rolled in thick over the back roads outside of town. The kind of fog that swallows your headlights 10 feet out and makes the whole world feel like it's holding its breath. I'd been on shift since noon, 23 stops, and this was going to be my last one before I could finally head home, eat something, and forget the entire day. My last delivery of the night was to an address I'd never seen before, 214 Miller Creek Road. I've driven every road in this county. I know them by heart, but I had never once heard of Miller Creek Road. The GPS kept glitching, rerouting me in circles like it didn't want me to reach the place. Every time I got close, the little blue arrow would spin, lose signal, and reroute me back the way I came. I told myself it was just bad reception out in the sticks. After almost 20 minutes of backtracking, I finally saw a faded street sign, half covered in vines, that read Miller Creek Road. When I finally found it, the house was set way back from the road, surrounded by dead trees. Not bare winter trees, dead trees. Black bark, no leaves even in memory. Like something had drained the life out of that whole patch of land. No lights were on. Not a single window. The house itself looked like it hadn't been painted in 50 years. The porch sagging on one side like it was tired of holding itself up. I sat in my car for a full minute before I got out, telling myself it was just an old farmhouse. People live in old farmhouses. People don't always keep their lights on. There was nothing strange about a dark house on a dark road. I said that to myself 3 or 4 times before I actually believed it enough to open the door. The porch light was broken, glass scattered across the steps like it had been smashed from the inside, not the outside. I remember noticing that detail and pushing it out of my mind almost as fast as it came in. I knocked twice, no answer, but I could hear something. A slow, dragging sound coming from behind the door, like furniture or maybe something heavier being pulled across a wooden floor, 1 inch at a time. Company policy says to leave the package if no one answers, so that's what I told myself I'd do. Set it down, snap a photo for proof of delivery, get back in the car, and never think about Miller Creek Road again. That's when I noticed the door wasn't actually closed. It was open about 1 inch, and something on the other side was breathing. Slow, deliberate, like whatever it was knew I could hear it and didn't care. I should have walked away right there. Every instinct in my body was screaming at me to leave the package on the steps and get back in my car. But some stupid part of my brain told me to knock again, to make sure everything was fine. I raised my hand to knock a 3rd time, and that's when I heard a voice, small, like a child's, say, "You're not him." I froze. My hand was still in the air. I asked, as calm as I could manage, if everything was okay in there, if there was an adult home. There was no answer, just that same slow breathing, and then the dragging sound again, closer this time. I didn't wait to hear anything else. I dropped the package and ran straight for my car, my boots slipping on the wet grass, my heart pounding so loud I could hear it over my own footsteps. My hands were shaking so bad I dropped my keys twice before I got the door open. I remember thinking, absurdly, that if I just got the car started, none of this would have really happened. Like starting the engine could undo the last 5 minutes. As I pulled out, I looked in my rearview mirror, and the porch light, the one that was broken, the one with glass scattered across the steps, was on. Standing in that light was a figure, too tall to be a person, watching me leave. It didn't move. It didn't wave or call out. It just stood there, framed in that broken light that should not have been working, and watched my taillights disappear down Miller Creek Road. I didn't sleep that night. I kept the lights on in my apartment until the sun came up, and I still couldn't shake the feeling that something had followed me home, even though I never saw anything else. I called my dispatcher the next morning to ask about the address, mostly hoping she'd tell me it was just some cranky old man who liked to mess with delivery drivers. She pulled up the route logs and told me there was no record of any delivery to Miller Creek Road that night, or any night. The address didn't exist in the system. I told her I'd been there. I told her I'd stood on that porch. She checked again and said the same thing. No such address on file, no such delivery assigned. I drove past that road a week later, in daylight, just to prove to myself it was real. It took me almost an hour to find the turnoff again, even though I remembered every twist of that route from the night before. There was no house, just an empty lot, overgrown with weeds, like nothing had ever been built there at all. No foundation, no driveway, no dead trees. Just tall grass swaying in the wind, like the land itself was pretending nothing had ever stood there. I sat in my car at the edge of that lot for a long time, trying to convince myself I'd gotten the address wrong, that the rail house was somewhere else nearby. But I knew, even as I told myself that I hadn't made a mistake. I still do deliveries. I still take the late shifts because the pay is good and I need the work. But I never take the night shift on Route 9 anymore. And if a delivery ever comes through for an address I don't recognize, I let someone else take it. Some roads, I've learned, you're better off not finding.